Hey guys, back with some Australian 7-point Highlander gameplay. This time it'll be Eldrazi versus Blue-Red Prowess. We're on the draw. The 7 isn't very exciting, not enough mana. Let's take an easy mull. 6 is a bit closer, has a bit of interaction with Misstep. It's got an Eldrazi Temple to power out the Reshaper, and I can go Talisman into Ancient Stirrings to find where I'm missing. Not a stellar 6, but good enough that I'll keep it and get rid of the Mox Opal because it's a little bit far away from being online. No 1-drop from the opponents. Interesting. Draw a City of Traders, which is pretty good to power out the Talisman, followed by the Stirrings. That finds a Sol Ring, so before you know it, we're back up to 6 mana turn 2. Opponent plays an Inti, which lines up quite well with a Matter Shaper. So happy to get that down and take this trade in a heartbeat if we can take it. They play Swift Spear, which I respect with a misstep. And they're happy to attack, so I'm definitely happy to put the trade up. They have Daze off the Inti, which is good. They have a Titan Strength, so the trample on the Inti is pretty good that it gets in for 4 trample over the Reshaper. Reshaper finds Cavern, so we've got plenty of mana, we just need some kind of payoff. Great draw, finding Devourer to not only kill the Inti, but probably provide a 3-turn clock, assuming they crack some fetches. And then the Talon Gates to phase it out to maybe protect it against an Unholy Heat or phase out a blocker on that final attack could be really valuable. Feeling pretty good, but they're up to 3 cards in hand, so there's definitely any number of draws that could get them back into this. They go with a Gush, so that's pretty scary, and a Broadside. So things will quickly turn around back into opponent's favour. Draw another land, unfortunately. I will get in for the 6 just because Broadside's got Menace, so there's not much point staying back. I do decide to Talon Gates the Broadside. I just don't want to risk like a potential Murktide or Delve threat getting flung at me by the Broadside and just killing me out of nowhere. Might as well try and see one more draw step or potentially 2. So I'll do this. They follow up with a Ragavan and Lava Spike and a Chain Lightning. They're just going upstairs. At this point, I'm pretty close to dead. I draw Eldrazi Repurposer, so that does provide 2 blockers against Broadside, but I need to leave at least 3 back because I need to not only block the Broadside, but block any damage from the Ragavan because it could also fling. So I'm just going to respect the creatures in play and not attack with my 6/6. But any removal spell pretty much kills me at this point. They have used the Chain Lightning Lava Spike, so they haven't got too many bolts left, but they draw a Treasure Cruise into an Expressive, so they're seeing tons of cards. Mesa, Crack, a red. Oh, I think they revealed Lava Dart off of the Expressive iteration in Exile, so that'll finish me off. That'll be game 1. Going to the sideboard, I probably brought in Haywire Might as just a cheap blocker that can gain some life, Vexing Bauble to stop any Gush, Fire Blast shenanigans, or Baubles or Jip Probe forces, all that kind of thing. On the player, I like Trinisphere, so I brought that in. Velik's obviously good to deal with any Delve threats. Chalice is a all-star, so bring that in for sure. Spatial Contortion for a bit more removal, and Breaker of Creation to stabilize. With that, we go to game 2. Take a play. Got an interesting hand. It is 7 things that make mana, but it's also 5, 6 points. So definitely not going to mulligan it. Turn 1 Saga has Soul Rings, pretty good. Like pumping out constructs right away is pretty exciting. So it's definitely a keep, but it's funny to keep a hand that has no, well, 7 mana producers. But luckily Saga has a bit more text to it, so that's enough for me to kind of plan a game plan around it. Let's play Basic Island. Try to get another mana producer, but we get to do a cool trick where we Thespian Stage, copy Saga, and just really focus on cranking out as many constructs as possible. And given they didn't have a 1-drop and I Saga turn 1, it should be hard for them to keep up with that outside of a Brotherhood's End or a Hercule's Recall or something like that. So our game plan's pretty well set, but it's a good game plan and should do the trick. It really just depends if the opponent's got the right answer at the right spot. We'll stick the plan, make a bunch of constructs. I set up a Vexing Bauble here, just out of respect for Fire Blasts and all those kind of free spells. It was that or a Relic. It was really not a big difference between the two of them. Planning to untap Tolarian and maybe cycle Vexing Bauble. They have got a mutagenic growth and a daze, so the Vexing Bauble is kind of doing work, but also each of these spells alone is producing 4 power via the Balmor triggers, so each of these getting +1/+1, plus this also getting +2/+0 each time. So casting these 2 spells resulted in 8 damage, so taking quite a beating this turn. But I shouldn't. I'm going to take 14, which hurts, but it's not lethal, so that's the good news. In retrospect, I probably should have played the Eldrazi Repurposer because I don't have lethal in play at this point. If I don't draw an artifact, I actually can't produce lethal. I don't. I draw another land, but thankfully I've got so much mana with the Tolarian that I can use the Ivogin and search up almost any Eldrazi that costs 6 or less and cast it. And thankfully Reality Smasher has haste, so I'll go grab that and that'll be a clean 15 damage to wrap it up. And safe with the Vexing Bauble to cover any forces or anything like that. So that'll take care of game 2. I'll draw again. Interesting hand. Again, full of mana, but a lot of potential as well. Ugin's Lab to pitch Emrakul, make 2 mana turn 1, play Grim Monolith. So we're looking at 6+ mana from turn 2 on the draw. Talon Gates for a bit of disruption, and then down the line, Emrakul will be its own payoff once you take it out of the labyrinth. So I'm going to keep it, but we're in another spot where we just need to find some sort of payoff. First draw is a Forsaken Monument, which is perfect. Love to see that. So we'll just develop our mana here. They have no 1-drop, so that's great as well. Play Balmor again. Not the scariest threat, but I definitely respect it after seeing what it did last game. Draw a Thought Knot, so this is pretty ideal. Let's see. I think I made an error here. I could have played Forsaken Monument and Thought Knot, but I end up just playing Thought Knot. It's not that much difference, but it would mean that I would have all my mana untapped next turn, and I would gain the 2 life of the Forsaken Monument. So we'll see if it comes back to bite us. The hand we see is these 5 cards. Days is not going to matter against this hand, so uh, we're just going to play around Days. Brainstorm's not a big deal, so I take this Bright Dragon just out of respect for the double flyers killed us last game, so let's just try and avoid that same fate. They draw a Darcy, play a Brainstorm, trying to put together Delirium, which I'm sure they will be able to pretty shortly. Probably 3 cards in. They go for the Monstrous Rage right away, which makes sense. You might as well get damage in now and set up your Surveils. So getting for a decent hit here for 6. I find a Soul Ring, so definitely happy to just go play Monument. Play the Soul Ring. Gain the 2 life. I'll untap the Grim Monolith because I've got some mana floating, so I might as well funnel it back into that. Notably, Forsaken Monument plus Grim Monolith means it taps for 4 and untaps for 4, so you might as well just untap it at that point. Not much point in trying to block when this is almost certainly going to get Delirium next turn, so we'll get him for 6. This is really the key decision point of this game, is what I do with the Talon Gates. So there's kind of 3 ways to play it. I can either upkeep do it to phase out one of these guys and like minimize the damage I take this turn. I can play it defensively to try and defend the Thought Knot, or I can just try not use it at all right now, and then untap, use my Ugin's Lab to get Emrakul back, play this for turn, and then tap all my mana, and I can cast Emrakul, I think, with 1 floating. Also worth noting, when they brainstormed earlier, I was under the assumption that they would have put the days away because I already had 10 mana. So yeah, this plan kind of trusts that casting Emrakul is going to get the job done next turn. So it's really just a balancing act of making sure I don't die this turn, but make sure I cast Emrakul next turn. If I do tap the Grim Monolith, then I'm not going to be able to Emrakul next turn outside of drawing a land. So really my key priority is just, if I can avoid using the Talon Gates, then I'll just get to Emrakul and that should win the game. They start off with a Vapor Snag, which again tests what I want to do. Do I Talon Gates to keep the Thought Knot around so they don't draw the extra card, I don't take the extra damage? I again decide that I don't think I'm going to die this turn, and Emrakul's going to should do the trick next turn, so I'm going to let it go. They have Titan Strength, so now they're clearly putting a lot of pressure. Pretty scared. Once this is all resolved, we're looking at 12 damage, so now I'm in bolt range, which is pretty scary. It's a hard spot to pick if I want to use the Talon Gates or not. I'm going to let them go to attacks and I won't block, and if they don't bolt, I'm going to assume that they don't have it, just because the free prowess triggers, you might as well cast it before damage in case. So we'll run the gauntlet, see if it gets there. Haven't been bolted yet, so that's a good sign. So now we're on the Emrakul plan. Tap everything, cast Emrakul. I miscount my mana. I think I can once upon a time and play Emrakul, but so I tap for green. But I end up deciding it would put me vulnerable to days. It would cost 2 mana to play the once upon a time, but put an instant in the grave, so it costs 1 effectively on the Emrakul turn. They actually did keep the days after all this time, very surprisingly. So I'm glad I didn't end up using. Well, I did still play around it by not playing the once upon a time. go to their Emrakul turn. So we see 2 lands, which is great. If this is all that they've got, then I can just, if they draw a brick for turn, I can just Thundering Falls, try and put a brick on top for their next turn, suicide the Balmor, and then uh, Dragon Rage Channeler is going to be forced to attack the following turn and kill that, and then the Emrakul seals the deal. Unfortunately, they draw Treasure Cruise, so in this spot I can't really ignore it because giving them the options the following turn really isn't acceptable. So I got to cast the cruise myself. I'm just going to clear out most of the instant sorceries and just leave them with land, Murktide. Surveilling a Bauble, I don't want to let them have a card the following turn, or like maybe a bolt on my upkeep could be an issue, so I'm just not going to give them a Bauble. Draw with the Treasure Cruise. I was thinking at this point I'll just draw a bunch of bolts that can kill my own creatures, and then there should be an easy win with the Emrakul. Unfortunately, we find Price of Progress, which doesn't matter who casts it. This card's going to be killing me and not my opponent. Think about any other lines that could maybe do it, and then me and my opponent agree that there's no way out, and I concede. So yeah, really fun match. Always an interesting one to lose on an Emrakul turn, or lose after casting an Emrakul the Promised End. But really good match nonetheless. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content.